Hello and welcome, friends. As I promised you to come with the second part of the story, Footprints Without Feet, and now this is the time when I'm going to start the second part of the story with proper kind of explanation of each sentence. So he escaped easily enough from the boys who followed his footprints to London. Here he refers to the scientist himself. He somehow escaped himself, somehow not, rather he had done a kind of experimentation in his body and through which he made himself completely invisible. And the two boys who had seen the footprints on the ground, they started following that man. You cannot say the man, rather they have seen the footprints on the ground only. They have not seen the person. Still they started following those footprints which were on the ground. But his adventures were by no means over. So here his adventures doesn't mean the adventure of the boys, rather the adventure of the scientist. So till now he has made himself completely invisible. That is not the end of that scientist. Rather, another kind of adventure or mysterious thing is going to happen in the life of the scientist. He had chosen a bad time of the year to wander about London without clothes. So no one can say, there is no any kind of doubt that the person was quite well acknowledged person, as because he was a scientist, so he was quite well acknowledged person, but least kind of idea which he had forgotten to take any kind of precautions to wander in the chilly night. So he was not supposed to, he was not supposed to do that kind of experimentation in winter season, as because if he wanted to be invisible, that means he must be a naked person. So being a naked person and traveling in the street, that's quite tough and difficult for him. Still he had done. The air was bitterly cold and he could not do without clothes. So when he started traveling on the street without cold, after being a naked person, he started traveling on the road or on the street. It makes him completely what I say. It was kind of intolerable torture from the bitterly cold which he had to suffer, as because he was a quite naked person. The air was bitterly cold and he could not do without clothes. So he was not supposed to do anything without clothes. He was in dangerous situation. Instead of walking about the street, he decided to slip into a big London store for warmth. Now, what was thought comes in his mind, that he was not able to tolerate the chilly wind or bitterly wind. That's why he had changed his decision and he wanted to take warmth in his body, and that's why he wanted to come to the store to get something. Now what he will get, let's see, from that store. Closing time arrived, and as soon as the doors were shut, Griffin was able to give himself the pleasure of clothing and feeding himself without regard to expense. Now, before closing of that store, he entered into that store and he was successful to take clothes and food from that store without giving any kind of money to the storehouse keeper. He broke open boxes and wrappers and fitted himself out with warm clothes, sewn with shoes, an overcoat, and a wide brimmed hat. He became a fully dressed and visible person and in the kitchen of the restaurant, he found cold meat and coffee, and he followed up the meal with sweets and wine taken from the grocery store. Finally, he settled down to sleep on a pile of quilts. Now, what happened? What happened? This is the event. This is the event from the storehouse. What he had done in that storehouse, everything is mentioned here. He had what he had done. At first, he had taken the warm cloth, as because he was shivering, as because he was suffering from cold. That's why at first what he had done, he had taken the warm clothes, then he had taken food, then he had taken the rest of the things, and that means he was quite in comfortable condition after being present in the storehouse.